Good evening, everyone. Welcome to week 7 of term 4 of 2025, Thursday evening, Rongton Buddhist Training College philosophy classes. Rinpoche was due back today, but he's had to attend to something at the last minute, so he asked me to lead the session today. Hopefully he'll be back again next week. So we've just got 3 short stories to go through today. I've done my best to ration how many stories we do each week. It's probably better to have a couple short sessions towards the end of this term rather than rush to pack everything in. In any case, let's do the prayers before meditation and teachings as usual. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge till enlightenment by virtue of giving and the like. I shall reach Buddhahood to aid beings. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge till enlightenment by virtue of giving and the like. I shall reach Buddhahood to aid beings. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge till enlightenment by virtue of giving and the like. I shall reach Buddhahood to aid beings. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far, according to the intelligence and predisposition of each being. We ask that you turn the Dharma wheel of great, low, and common vehicles. So with such introductory prayers, we can attune our mind to spiritual intention behind these stories, and how we can relate them to our life and our journey and our relationships with others, which seems to be largely what these stories are about. Why certain things happen to us with other people and so forth. Buddha was able to explain these to his early disciples, which makes it very interesting. Maybe we can speculate how why certain events have occurred, why certain relationships have occurred and so forth in our life, and what this may mean in terms of our past and what this may mean in terms of our future. So we'll just go, as I mentioned, we'll just go through three short stories this evening, starting with chapter 47, which is called The 10 Sons of Sumana. Sumana means handsome or beautiful. Thus have I heard at one time. The Enlightened One was residing in the city of Shravasti at the Jetavana monastery in Anathapindika's park. The householder Anathapindika had a beautiful daughter by the name of Sumana, whom, because he loved her more than all his other daughters, took her wherever he went. Upon a certain occasion, the householder went to pay homage to the Buddha and took his daughter with him. When she saw the Enlightened One, a mind of great joy arose in her, and she wished to perfume his dwelling with incense. As she stood before the Lord, holding a mango in her hand, the Lord asked her for it, and when the girl had placed it in his hand, he tasted it, then wrote down the names of the best kind of incense, and gave them to the girl. When the father and daughter returned home, they went to the market and bought the various kinds of incense that would please the Buddha, and later the girl returned to the Jetavana grove and each day sat there grinding incense. This is halfway through page 228, by the way, if you're reading along. One day the king of Tikchasri, I couldn't find that in any of my Sanskrit dictionaries. Shri usually means glorious, as in Sri Lanka, the glorious Lanka. Shri, so Tikcha I couldn't find. It does look probably Sanskritic though. Anyway, sometimes a place name is just a place name. One day the king of Tikchasri sent one of his sons to Rajagurha. Remember, Rajagurha means royal residence. It's the same area where Buddha famously gave the Heart Sutra. Arriving in the city, he went to the Jetavana grove, where he saw the girl grinding incense, fell in love with her, and decided to marry her. He went to King Prasenajit to ask permission, and when the king asked who her father was, and the boy told him it was Anathapindika, the king said, "There is no need to ask me. You will have to ask the girl's father." The boy said, "Your Majesty, if you will not reprimand me, I'll kidnap the girl." So reprimand meaning a formal expression of disapproval. When the king said do so, the boy assembled his entourage, mounted an elephant, rode to the Jetavana grove, seized the girl, put her on his elephant and rode away. Anathapindika gave chase, but was unable to overtake them, and the prince took the girl to his own country and married her. Soon the princess became pregnant, and when the months had passed, gave birth to 10 eggs. It's quite unusual. When the eggs broke open, a handsome boy came out of each. When the boys grew up, they became mighty hunters. One day their mother said to them, "Sons, you must not kill wild animals." The boys replied that there was nothing they enjoyed doing more, and that if their mother prevented them, it meant that she didn't love them. Their mother told them, "It is not because I don't love you, but rather because I do love you that I wish to prevent you from committing evil deeds. Because of the sin of taking life, one falls into hell and is reborn there as a deer or a sheep or a rabbit or some other kind of animal, and suffers death over and over again at the hands of the lords of death, and goes through unbearable suffering. If you wish to be spared this terrible suffering, you should refrain from your evil deeds. This is the reason I am trying to prevent you from killing." The boys said, "What you have just told us, did you hear it, or did you simply make it up?" The mother said, "I heard it from the Buddha." The boys asked, "Buddha, what does that mean?" Of course, Buddha just means one who is awake. The mother said, "Sons, have you not heard? The handsome son of King Shuddhodana." So Shuddhodana means one who subsists on pure food. I'm not quite sure if there's a story or something behind the etymology of his name. There usually is. But anyway, one who subsists on pure food. Shuddha is pure. The handsome son of King Shuddhodana, meaning the Buddha, although a world monarch, finding no pleasure in sickness, old age, or death, became a monk, meditated on the way, and attained the longed-for supreme enlightenment. If you're reading along with me, you can see that they capitalize the initial of way. I find that interesting. It's a nice way of way of expressing in English something that is substantial and something that has authority behind it. So capitalizing the initial of the way. Capital W, meditated on the way and attained the longed-for supreme enlightenment. Again, with supreme enlightenment, we have a capital S and a capital E. So this is a bit old-fashioned in English, maybe, and I do understand that. I think European languages such as German tend to capitalize the initials of nouns more than we do. Anyway, it is a bit old-fashioned, and this, but I find it quite interesting when translators have these different ways of expressing the intent of the teachings. His body of 16 cubits is endowed with the signs. He is perfect in the three knowledges and the 6 spiritual powers. He clearly knows the 3 times, the past, the present, and the future, like a myrobalan fruit in the palm of his hand. We have this saying in Buddhism, it's probably also in non-Buddhist ancient Indian literature, talking about the palm in your hand. There's a saying, Buddha in the palm of your hand. It means that whatever you put in the palm of your hand is very obvious to you. It's right there. And a cubit, if I remember correctly, is the distance from your elbow to the tip of the finger. It's an old-fashioned measurement. I didn't get to look up myrobalan. I think it's some sort of medicinal fruit. When the boys heard this, about the Buddha that is, they rejoiced and asked where the Buddha was. When their mother told them that he was residing in the city of Shravasti, they asked her permission, then went to their grandfather in Shravasti, who took them to the Buddha in the Jetavana Grove. When the boys saw the Buddha's signs, which appeared to them even more splendid than they had imagined, they rejoiced greatly. I imagine this is referring to the 32 major and 80 minor monks. When the Lord had taught them the Dharma, they attained the eye of the Dharma and asked to become monks. The eye of the Dharma probably refers to like a wisdom eye, like the third eye of a forehead. Eye of the Dharma implies that we have some sort of insight. You see in the word insight, it uses the term sight, meaning to see, when it's not something that we literally see, but it's like saying when you get something, you say, yeah, I get it, I see. So it's that type of seeing. So it's a metaphorical seeing. That's what I understand the eye of Dharma to be. You can see the spiritual truth in things, not just what is evident before you with the fleshly eye. They attained the eye of Dharma and asked to become monks. The Buddha asked, "Sons, do you have your parents' permission?" When they said that they did not, the Buddha said, "Without obtaining the permission of one's parents, it is not possible to become a monk." Anathapindika said, "Lord, I am these boys' grandfather, and I beg you to ordain them." When the Buddha said they may become monks, their hair and beards fell away, and they were monks. By exerting themselves in the way, again capital W, they soon became arhats. The 10 monks were never separated from each other, lived and went everywhere together, and the people of that country, seeing them, had faith. Arhats is an interesting word translation-wise because literally it comes from a Sanskrit root meaning worthy. So why? Because arhats are worthy of praise and veneration from others. We sometimes see arhats in translations from Tibetan texts as foe destroyers, don't we? Foe destroyers or enemy subduers, that type of thing. This is based on a Tibetan etymology that is not strictly a true etymology, but what we call a creative etymology. It's an etymology that's designed for us. It's said to come from Ari and Han, which Ari means enemy and Han means to destroy. So it's like a convoluted type of etymology. It's not a strictly true etymology, but it's called a creative etymology in the sense that it reminds us what arhats are, which is that besides being worthy, which is the pure, what I might call the pure etymology, they use what's called creative etymology to say that it's the destroyer of the flow, destroyer of the foe. What is the foe? The foe is the affliction. The enemy is the affliction that is destroyed. The 10 monks were never separated from each other, lived and went everywhere together, and the people of that country, seeing them, had faith. Then Ananda, remembering a long A at the start, remembering if we say Ananda, the A prefix means not. So if we unfortunately say, or mistakenly say Ananda, it means joyless. So Nanda by itself means joy. Ananda means joyless. Ananda, with a long A at the start, at least said for at least double the length of a short one, Ananda means joyful. So the short A and the long A as a prefix to a word in Sanskrit have completely different, opposite meanings. This is where the what are called the diacritical marks, such as the bar, the horizontal bar you see on some letters that lengthens the vowel and vowel. Sometimes you see a dot below the letter, and sometimes you see a crescent above the letter. So when you learn a bit of Sanskrit, you learn to take a lot of careful attention to these what's called diacritical marks, because Sanskrit has at least 13, if not about 16 vowels, and has something like 34 or 35 consonants. So it has quite a few more letters than English, which is why we need these symbols to help cater for the extra letters that the alphabet contains. Then Ananda said to the Buddha, "Lord, these 10 monks, what former good deeds did they do to be born in a high caste, to meet you, and to attain the state of an arhat? What is the reason for this?" The Buddha said, Ananda, in former times, 91 eons ago, when the Buddha Vishvabhuj had come to this world, Vishvabhuj, so Vishva means all things, Bhuj means to enjoy or to possess or to eat. So it could mean Vishvabhuj could literally mean enjoying all things, possessing all things, or eating all things. Vishva means everything, it's universal. When the Buddha Vishvabhuj had come into the world, aided beings, and passed into nirvana, countless stupas were built to enshrine his many relics. It so happened that upon a certain occasion, when an old woman was repairing one of the stupas that had fallen into disrepair, 10 travellers passed that way, and seeing the old woman, asked what she was doing. She told them, "This stupa is a place of offerings. If I repair it, I shall attain the fruit of great virtue." Hearing this, the men rejoiced greatly and helped her repair the stupa. When the work was completed, they made a vow to be reborn as the old woman's sons, and from that time throughout 91 kalpas, that's eons, they have always been reborn as gods or men, have always been happy and blessed in the three ways. What are the three? First, they were handsome and comely. Second, they have been honoured by all. And third, they have always had long lives and never have fallen into the hells. Now they have met me, all their impurities have been cleansed, and they have attained the bliss of arhats. Ananda, this girl, Sumana, was that old woman, and these 10 arhats were those 10 men. When the Buddha had thus spoken, all believed and rejoiced. Interesting how believable these stories are, even though for us modern listeners they have some fantastic elements to them, like giving birth to eggs and this type of thing as human. But it's interesting that in those times, sure, things were a little bit different in some ways, but that was their reality, that was their consensus. Okay, chapter 48. Upagupta. Upagupta means hidden or concealed. We might see whether this has any literal meaning or any meaning that is fleshed out in the course of the story. Thus have I heard at one time, the Enlightened One was residing in the city of Shravasti at the Jetavana monastery in Anathapindika's park. At that time there lived in that country a Brahmin mendicant by the name of Upagupta, who was of keen intellect and could foretell the past and future. This Brahmin went to the Buddha and asked to be ordained into the Sangha, saying, "If in wisdom and vigour I will be equal to Shauriputra, ordain me. If not, I shall return home." When the Buddha said that this would not be, the Brahmin did not become a monk and went back to his home. Sometime later the Buddha said to the monks, 100 years after I have passed into Nirvana, if this Brahmin becomes a monk, he will be endowed with wisdom and possess the 6 spiritual powers and benefit countless beings. At the time of his final Nirvana, the Buddha said to Ananda, "Ananda, I have entrusted all the sutras to you. Do memorize them and disseminate them widely." In accordance with the Buddha's word, Ananda memorized the sutras. At his Nirvana, he said to the disciple Yasha, Yasha means glory, fame, celebrity, reputation, etc. Sometimes you look up a single word in a Sanskrit dictionary and it has over half a dozen different words. Yasha, I shall pass into Nirvana and I entrust the sutras to you to be preserved and propagated. In Benares, Varanasi, there is a householder by the name of Gupta who has a son called Upagupta. Okay, now Gupta also means secret or hidden. It doesn't seem to differ much in meaning from Upagupta. Upa as a prefix means near, nearby, or to approach. As you would see in the word, the genre of Sanskrit literature called Upanishads, right? The Hindu literature. So Upa means near, and Shad comes from Sad, which means to sit. So Upanishad means to sit near. Sit near what? Sit near the teacher and listen to the advice, the instructions. So Upan means near. So Upagupta literally means near secret. I'm not sure, to be honest, whether it has much of a different meaning to Gupta itself. Anyway, ask him to become a monk, that's his son Upagupta, ordain him, and at the time of your nirvana entrust all the sutras to him. When Ananda had attained nirvana, Yasha memorized the supreme dharma and greatly benefited beings in the world. Upon a certain occasion he went to Varanasi and became acquainted with the householder, became friends with him and visited him often. When a son was born to the householder, he was named Upagupta, and before he had come of age, Yasha requested that he become a monk. The householder said, "This, my beloved son, it must carry on my line. He cannot become a monk, but if another son is born, I shall give him to you." Later, another son was born and was called Nandagupta. So how's your Sanskrit imagination going? We know that Nanda from the previous chapter means joyous. We know that Gupta from earlier in this chapter means secret. So Nanda Gupta means something like joyous secret. Yeah? When Yasha, glory, fame, etc., asked for this boy, the householder said, "My eldest son does the outside work, and the younger son does the work inside. He cannot become a monk. But if another son is born, you may have him." Yasha was endowed with the three knowledges of an arhat and knew the abilities of beings. He searched to see whether it was the fate of either of these boys to become a monk, and seeing that it was not, ceased to ask for them. Later, another son, handsome and comely, was born to the householder, and Yasha again went to ask for him. The householder said, "The child is too young now, but when he grows up, I shall give him to you." When the boy grew up, he was endowed with great intellect, and his parents gave him money and established him in business. Upon a certain occasion, Yasha visited him, taught him the Dharma, and establishing him in one pointedness of mind, told him, "When evil thoughts arise, place a black pebble on the table. When good thoughts arise, place a white one there. Then see which outnumbers the other." This is a very famous story that I've heard this story a few times before, but as far as I know, it referred to some Tibetan practitioner in the Kadampa school, the mind training school, where they would do this exercise as well. I'm not sure if they knew about this or the origins of it coming from ancient India, like in this story. It's an interesting idea, though. They would have a pile of it's a bit obvious, but just to reiterate, they have a pile of white pebbles and a pile of black pebbles, and whenever they catch themselves with a negative thought, you'd pick up a black pebble and put it in front in a pile, and whenever they have a positive pebble, pick up a white pebble and put it in the pile. At first, the pile is mostly black, but if you keep doing the exercise, you gradually train yourself to pick up only white pebbles. That's the idea behind it anyway. So that's a very famous Lojong story. It'll be interesting to know if the Kadampa monks who taught this in Tibet knowingly inherited it from this teaching that we find here, that's obviously older than any Tibetans. The man, whose name was Upagupta, did this, and at first there were many more of the black pebbles. Then the black and white pebbles gradually became equal, and finally, through effort and meditation, only white pebbles remained. Bringing forth thoughts of virtue, he attained to the first fruits. So this would very much, as you can imagine, help in attaining stability and calm abiding, shamatha meditation. If you're becoming very aware of your positive and negative thoughts, then when you do the super qualified breathing that we're all familiar with, breathing in positivity, exhaling negativity, you'll be very skilled at placing the thoughts, sorting them, so to speak. And so never inhaling anything negative and only breathing out negative. At that time there lived in that city a certain courtesan. One day she gave money to one of her servant girls and sent her to Upagupta to buy flowers, and Upagupta gave her more than she paid for. When the girl took the flowers to her mistress, the woman was astonished and said, "This is twice as many flowers as you used to obtain for the same price. How did you get so many?" The girl said, "The man who sold me the flowers was very unusual, and gave me more without the usual haggling, dispute or bargain persistently, especially over the cost of something. He is very handsome and you would enjoy meeting him. The courtesan then sent an invitation to Upagupta to visit her home, but he refused. Again and again she invited him, but he never went. At one time the courtesan had intimacies with a certain prince and, coveting his jewels, she murdered him and hid his body in her house. The king had all houses searched, and when the prince's body was found in her house, had her hands, feet, nose, and ears cut off, and impaled her on a stake. While she was still alive, Upagupta came to her. The courtesan said, "Formerly, when I was beautiful, you never came to see me. Why do you bother now?" Upagupta said, "It was because I was attached to your form that I never came. Now I have come out of compassion." He then taught her the Dharma concerning the 4 kinds of impermanence. This next 7 lines are in verse. This body is foul and filthy. Its true nature is suffering. It is empty and without a self. Even if one searches, one finds no refuge there. The body is insentient. Only the stupid are attached to it. It says insentient, but I'm pretty sure it means insentient, meaning lacking consciousness. He then told her, "Woman, you should not be attached to this filthy body." When the courtesan heard this, she attained to the totally pure eye of the Dharma, and Upagupta attained the fruit of no return. Yasha again requested the householder to allow his son to become a monk, and when permission was granted, he was taken to the temple and given the monastic vow. When he was 20 years old, he took the vow of the Arhat, and through practicing introspection and the 4 works, I've not heard that before, I'm not sure what the 4 works are, became a conqueror of enemies, perfect in the 3 knowledge and the 6 spiritual powers. Attaining to the unequaled ability of speech, he attracted many people and taught them the Dharma. Upon a certain occasion, the evil Mara showered a rain of gold coins among the assembly, and all seized the coins and forgot to listen to the Dharma. So Mara, of course, meaning the devil in Buddhist thinking, personified. The next day, when Upagupta was again teaching the Dharma, Mara sent down a shower of flowers, and again all the assembly fell into disorder. The next day, when many people had again assembled and the Dharma was being taught, Mara took on the form of a blue elephant with 6 tusks, from which flowed sparkling water. In each stream of water there was a beautiful girl of crystal singing, and as the elephant walked softly back and forth, the assembly was amazed, stopped listening to the teaching, and watched the elephant. The next day Mara transformed himself into a beautiful woman, came to the assembly, and when the people saw her, they forgot to listen to the Dharma. Thereupon Yasha transformed the woman into a skeleton of dry white bones. When the assembly saw this, they were horrified, and listened to the Dharma with concentrated minds, and there were many who attained to the first fruits. At that time there was a dog who came daily to the monks and would sit with its ears cocked and listen as the Dharma was being taught. When it died, it was reborn as a deva, that is a god, with a lowercase g, and sat on the same seat as the evil Mara. Mara thought, "How has this virtuous one come here and become my equal? I must find out about this." Investigating, he found out that the deva had formerly been a dog and thought, the monks are humiliating me." Seeing from afar the monk Upagupta sitting in samadhi, he placed a jeweled diadem on his head. When Upagupta arose from samadhi and felt the diadem on his head, he investigated and learned that it was Mara who had placed it there, by means of his spiritual powers called Mara, and placed a hat consisting of the dog's dead body on Mara's head, saying, "This is in return for the diadem which you presented to me." Mara returned to his own realm, saw that his hat was the body of a dead dog, and tried to remove it, but could not. Going to Indra, he said, "Indra, "Take this terrible thing off my head." Indra said, "Impossible. Only the person who put it on can take it off. I cannot." Then Mara went to all the kings of the gods and the Asuras are demigods, and asked them to remove the vile thing from his head. Vile meaning extremely unpleasant. But, like Indra, they could do nothing. Discouraged, Mara went back to Upagupta and said, the Buddha was endowed with great virtue and compassion, but you Shravakas are terrible people. It is true, I did surround the Bodhisattva with 80,000 hosts of Mara, and attempted to obstruct him from attaining enlightenment, and tried to confuse him, but he never held it against me and was always compassionate. Why do you do something so terrible to me in return for a little joke I wanted to play? Upagupta said, Mara, you are right. How can anyone compare with the Buddha? How can a pile of sand compare with Mount Meru? How can a cow hoof puddle compare with the great ocean? That's a traditional analogy. How can a timid fox compare with the lion, the king of beasts? I was born too late to see the Lord, but I have heard that with your magic powers you can create the Buddha's body. Do this now and let me see it. Mara said, I will create the imitation of the Buddha's body, but you must not worship it. Then Mara magically transformed himself into the body of the Buddha, golden in colour, 16 cubits in height, endowed with the 32 signs and 80 lesser marks, shining with light, more brilliant than the sun and moon. When Upagupta saw this, he said, I worship the Buddha, not you, Mara. But Mara said, O Venerable Upagupta, out of compassion remove this dead dog from my head. Upagupta said, King Mara, if you will bring forth a mind of compassion and love, and be a refuge to beings, the dead dog will become a jeweled necklace. But if you bring forth a mind of sin and evil, it will remain a dead dog. In great terror, Mara gave up his evil deeds and brought forth a mind of virtue. Then the monk Upagupta tamed innumerable beings. They attained the fruit and all praised him, saying, Because of your great virtue, beings without number and beyond conceiving have been tamed. Upagupta said, Even when I was born as an animal, I tamed beings and attained the fruits of the holy ones. Why is it so unusual that I tame beings now? The great assembly said, Tell us, we beg you, how you formerly tamed beings. Upagupta said, In times long past there was once 500 Prachika Buddhas. Remember that means individually realized beings with no teachers, but who have realized the truth, the same truth that the Buddha realizes, who resided on a mountain called many rishis in the land of Varanasi. Each day a monkey would come and honor them and make offerings. Later the Prachika Buddhas moved to another place and 500 mendicants took their place. Some of these mendicants worshipped the sun and moon, others were fire worshippers. One day when the sun worshippers were holding their legs in their hands and the fire worshippers had kindled their fire, the monkey pushed the sun worshippers over and extinguished the fire worshippers' fire. Then he sat upright in meditation. As he had formerly imitated them, this surprised the mendicants, and they said, The monkey no longer follows our way of practice. Let us follow his way. Gradually they became to imitate the monkey, to think like the monkey did, and their minds were tamed and they understood the true nature of things and became Prachika Buddhas. At that time I was the monkey. The assembly then said, Holy One, why did you take birth as a monkey? Upagupta said, Long ago, 91 eons ago, when the Buddha Vipassana was the first of 7 Buddhas, had come to the world, the monks resided in the mountain called many rishis. One day when the monk who had obtained the fruit was running up the mountain, another monk said, Hey monk, you run like a monkey. For that reason he was reborn as a monkey 500 times. Thereupon the 4 classes of hearers abandoned coarse talk and employed proper speech. Some of them became stream winners, some became never returners, some became arhats, some brought forth the roots of virtue for Prachika Buddha, and some brought forth a mind of enlightenment and became fearless. All the assembly believed and rejoiced. Okay. Last story for today, chapter 49, page 237. The 500 swans who were born as gods. It's just a page and a half. Thus have I heard at one time, upon a certain occasion when the Enlightened One was residing in Varanasi and teaching his gods and men of the four classes of heroes in a meadow in a forest, 500 swans flew overhead. Hearing the Buddha's word, they were delighted, turned about in the sky, and flew down near the Buddha, but were caught in a net which a hunter had set, and the hunter killed them. They were immediately reborn in the realms of the gods as 16-year-old boys who were exceedingly beautiful, and shone with a brilliant light like the golden mountain. They asked themselves by the power of what virtue they had taken this birth, and searching former births, came to know that it was because they had listened to the Dharma taught by the Buddha. Taking celestial flowers and incense, they proceeded to Varanasi and Jambudvipa, and with their divine light illuminated the place where the Buddha was residing, bowed at his feet, pressed their palms together, and said, Lord, by hearing the teaching of the Buddha we have been reborn as gods. We now beseech the Lord to teach us the Supreme Dharma. Again, Supreme Dharma has capital initials. When the Buddha had taught them the four truths, capital 4 and capital truth, initials, and they had understood their meaning, they became stream winners and would never again be reborn in the 3 evil births. Returning to the realm of the gods, they stopped all the outflows. Outflows meaning afflictions. Then Ananda said to the Buddha, Lord, who are those gods who came here tonight and illuminated the entire area with the light of the gods and bowed at the Lord's feet? The Buddha said, Ananda, listen carefully and bear it well in mind, and I shall tell you. One day while I was teaching the Dharma to gods, men, and the 4 classes of heroes, 500 swans heard the voice of the Dharma. When they alighted near me, a hunter caught and killed them. Because when the swans heard the voice of the Dharma, a mind of firm faith arose in them, they were reborn in the realm of gods of the 33. That's one of the desire realm heavens, 33. Learning that they had Trishtrimsha in Sanskrit, learning that they had been reborn there because they had heard the Dharma from me, they came to pay me homage. When Ananda heard the Buddha's word, he rejoiced greatly and believed and said, It is marvelous, Lord, marvelous that the Enlightened One has come into this world. The rain of the Dharma nourishes us. If beings born as animals are able to attain the highest fruits by hearing the Dharma, what can be said of men? The virtue of those who believe with firm faith is beyond measure. The Buddha said, Excellent, Ananda, excellent. It is as you say. The Buddha has come into the world and to give aid and joy to all beings. He brings down everywhere the rain of the nectar of the Dharma, which nourishes all beings. Therefore, do you, Ananda, exert yourself in the Dharma of the Buddha, and with one-pointedness of mind. When the Lord had thus spoken, all believed and rejoiced. That ends that chapter. And our readings for today. So hopefully there are maybe one or a few bits of wisdom you found in those readings today. And hopefully Rinpoche will be back for next Thursday evening teachings. So let's do the dedication of merits together now. By this merit may we overcome the defilements and gain omniscience. May I liberate all beings from the ocean of birth, old age, sickness, death. Hearing the Mahayana teachings, whatever merit I have accrued, may all beings become stainless vessels to hold the Mahayana teachings. Courageous Manjushri knew all things, and Samanta did likewise, knowing all of their examples. I shall dedicate all these merits May the excellent bodhicitta take birth where it has not yet done so. Where it has been born, may it increase freely without degeneration. So, have a good early finish. We did go for 3/4 of an hour, which is good. I have heard that when teaching and studying, it's good to do about 3/4 of an hour before you need a break. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm teaching. So thanks everyone, and we'll just have the final session with 3 short chapters next week with Rinpoche. Thank you.
Thank you, John.